thanks for joining us for this episode of Inventing in America. And we love to be able to talk to the inventors one-on-one and have them tell you what their product is, what problem does it solve, and where can you, America, go and buy these awesome new products. So Grant, thanks so much for being with us today. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what did you invent and why?
Yeah. Hi, Rita. Thanks for that warm welcome. So your first question, a little bit about myself. I was after high school, I didn't really want to go to college. I didn't want to go the traditional route. So I entered the trades and I worked in the trades for about 12 years. And that was fine. But at one point, especially when COVID hit, I realized I wanted to do something more. I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to be able to generate passive income. So I kind of looked into selling things online. And I quickly learned that unless you own something proprietary, selling things online is quite the challenge. Having a rinse and repeat product and selling one to many, t-shirts, hats, things of that nature. Okay, but why are they buying? Well, maybe they're only buying if you have brand, if you have presence. So I started a YouTube channel and things of that nature and about lawn care. And that kind of led me to that little notebook we all have in our phone of invention ideas. And when I remembered the idea of the flexible strap, that kind of rerouted all my plans. I was like, okay, forget lawn care, forget all that. If this is really what I want to do, I guess I'm an inventor now, and I had never even run a lemonade stand. So for me, that was quite the journey. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. And I like to think that that's helpful for some people because a lot of people with an invention idea feel like they're not qualified. Well, I'm here to tell you, none of us are really qualified for this career path.
No, I mean, all right. So there might be a program in school where in fourth grade you did the invention convention, but nobody's really thinking seriously about it. And it's not like you can really take a class on it. So you learn what not to do and what really works. It's like all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, I've got an idea. Now what? And inventors frequently learn very quickly the things that they're not good at. And usually marketing is one of them.
Of course. Absolutely.
So it's been fun to work with inventors and, when they call and say, okay, now what? And we look at being able to say, all right, here's your next steps and, help them through the process. So as you went through the process then of, all right, you've got an idea. How did you get through then the prototyping stuff?
Well, I'm a big proponent of prototyping yourself, prototyping for cheap. I think a lot of people's first instinct is I need a prototype, so I need to find an engineering firm who's going to hold my hand through the whole process. I like to look at everything as you are responsible for 90% of pretty much everything in this journey. Maybe 75, but shoot for 90. I want you to build a prototype to 90%, and the closer you are to 100, the better. A lot of times that can be done with off-the-shelf products, ordering straight from Alibaba, Temu, whatever. You're on a shoestring budget. You're trying to convince your significant other to allot you a couple $100 here and there to tinker in the garage or the basement, whatever the case may be. So for me personally, it was a matter of going to Home Depot, getting on Amazon, getting on Alibaba, and ordering or purchasing a lot of different components and kind of Frankensteining things together until I could prove the concept. And you really, the first person you need to prove the concept to, it's A, yourself, and B, whomever is in your life, that your partner, whatever that case is, because this is a journey you guys are about to go on together. And it may seem silly. It may seem, I remember those Saturday mornings in the garage thinking I should be watching sports or golfing with the guys. But when you have that idea and you can't get rid of it, you'll have the motivation to go and prototype that invention. And a lot of people have electronic or complex inventions. And what I can say is this. If you can't do it, if you really believe you can't do it, then pick another invention. Pick something simpler. Start simpler and smaller. I was lucky because I started in cargo straps. Cargo straps don't have machining, no tooling, no molding. It's just I got a $200 sewing machine and I just went to work. And probably 6-7 versions later, I had something that I could pull my wife outside, say, honey, connect that, and pull as hard as you can and just tell me what you think. And that's kind of when I had that first product prototype / validation.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people, it's like, get it out of your head. Duct tape, cardboard, Legos, Play-Doh. We've seen some really good ones with pipe cleaners. Whatever it takes, go buy parts and make your own. If you can't get it out of your head, you've got a problem. And so when I get these people that say, well, I want to do a software program that's going to do this, did you go out there and look really for something that is similar? And the lady goes, well, I have no idea how to do that. Probably your first problem, because let me send you this link. It had 100,000 hits on it. And so some people don't want to find what else is out there. And I think that, you hit it right when you said go out and buy the components, because a lot of times when you're buying components, you learn what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't tell you how much stuff ended up in the trash. I've got things on my wall behind me. You see this wooden mechanism, not to say it didn't work, but that was part of the process. That's a little machine that I used to bend and crimp together bungee cords, and it was bone breaking work. And I was only able to make 100 units a week back when that was the process. But that's part of this. And that's inventing on a budget and inventing smart. Fast forward to today, I was able to lay out a tech pack as to how I want my products built and assembled. I flew out to China. I trained them. I gave them the guides. And now our quality standards are very high, and we can produce it at mass scale. But you don't want to fast forward to that step, because you have to make those mistakes in the beginning to ensure that your factory, be that here or China, I don't care. They don't care as much as you are. They're manufacturers. They're not partners.
No.
They have some interest in what you're doing, but trust me, they have many bigger clients than you. You're a new inventor. So you have to dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah, I frequently tell inventors, it's like, get somebody. I know several different people who do that with feet on the ground in the US. Talk with them, meet with them, let them understand it. And then if things don't work out with whoever's in China, you go to them, not to China. And when, I'm sorry, but when somebody tells me they want to go to China, I say, hire a travel agent and go on vacation.
Yeah.
Because most people don't have the ability to really understand a manufacturing process, and they're better dealing with somebody who feet on the ground in the US that they can hold accountable for the product that they receive. But where are you now? Why is yours better? All right. And where can somebody go to find it?
Sure. So the why of the product is, when I was a kid, my dad hated ratchet straps. So he would always use bungee cords. We've all seen them and played with them. Maybe as kids, you have a little injury story. And one day, my dad, we would do light construction. He had a small company, and he was trying to strap down something in the bed of the truck, and he let go of a bungee, and the hook caught his hand and sunk into his hand. And this wasn't the first time that I'd seen bungees hurt someone or break a window, what have you. But I was 17 at that point. I was in the drafting classes at high school. I was starting to see how things come together, and I wasn't great at any of this stuff. I'm no engineer, don't get me wrong, but I thought, okay, here's a moment where there's got to be a better way. And I looked at the options out there. You have bungee cords that are dangerous. You have ratchet straps that are frankly confusing for 3 out of 5 people, maybe more. Let's put something in the middle. So what you have is a hybrid strap, and I'm showing you the packaging now because, as we said in Discovery, straps aren't super photogenic, but we advertise that we have a steel spring in our strap. So if you look at this picture, you see that orange portion, that's where that steel spring lies. And to simply explain the product, you hook it from end to end and you pull as hard as you can. The spring expands, it gets extremely tight, and it stays that way. With traditional pull straps in the past, they lacked that dynamic flexibility and the ability to hug a load and stay tight on it. So we basically took something that's been working for more than 100 years. There was not outcry for this product. This was not a product of massive market research. This was just my own intuition. And it is a niche, but I can say today happily that it's a niche that pays me a very fair salary, me and one other employee. It affords me my little dream office that you see here. And at this stage in the game, I'm looking at what can take me to 5 million in revenue, because hustle will get to you to 1 or 2 million in revenue, but systems and programs, that's what's going to get you to 5 and beyond. So that's the product, and that's kind of where I am with it.
Well, and I can see behind you where to go to buy the product, TorkStrap.com.
That's right.
And, you know, I have got bags of ratchet straps, and I have got bags of, you know, those stretchy ones that hurt.
Yes.
And so, you know, over the years, because we've done a lot of trade shows, we've moved several times, you know, just got a lot of those things, and they never work very well. Besides, the ratchet straps, you're always trying to untangle them. It doesn't matter how many are in the bag, they're always tangled up. And they're dangerous. They either don't work right or they're dangerous. Those bungee cords, there's just no way around it. They are a weapon, all right, if they're used improperly.
Yes.
And they're scary. So, you know, when you say it wasn't something that, you know, everybody was clamoring for, sometimes that answer to the problem is golden. You know, it's like the guy that invented the flashlight that wrapped around the pole.
Sure.
You know, a flashlight, the light coming out of the end of the stick. If you go down the aisle at Home Depot, you can find 24 different sizes, different thicknesses, and some still have patent pending on different elements of it. Okay, but the guy that invented the one that wrapped around the pole, hallelujah, now you could use both hands to fix something and not have to hold the flashlight in your mouth.
Absolutely. It may seem overly simple, it may seem overly complicated, but there's opportunity all around us. I love the factoid that I believe it was Lincoln who said maybe we should phase out the USPTO, because really, what more can we invent? Right. I think a lot of us have that feeling. We have that feeling that, well, there's people out there that are smarter than us, that are well funded, who've been doing product development longer, these big companies, umbrellas. But don't forget that what they're going after is database decisions, decisions based on guaranteed returns. What they're not doing is taking small swings and small risks on little niches, right? And little niches can turn into big things. My product is, I like to call it almost hyper niche. I sell cargo straps for 7 times more than you can get them at Home Depot. Some people, and I've been laughed out of the room many, many times, but I've gotten really good at finding that 1 out of 10 strap buyers who's done the ratchet straps, who's done the bungees. They own a $120,000 boat, and to buy a $60 pair of straps, it's a drop in the bucket if it solves their problem. So don't doubt yourself based on the big guys. They're not thinking like this. And I've had big companies look at buying me out, and the conversation always goes to, well, I just don't know if your market is big enough. I said, that's fine. It's more than big enough for me. Yeah. And I know with scale, I can bring my costs down. And I know with innovation, I can come up with a whole suite of products, and that's fine. Give it more time to bake. I'll keep having fun selling straps. And when we come back and talk about this, it's not going to be so cheap anymore, you know, my valuation.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So, well, you answered one of the questions. I was going to say, you know, what's next and what are you striving for? And you answered that for us. And we know where we can go and get it. So trade shows, I mean, we're picking up a big trade show in March. We're going to. But what have you found as far as, you know, your best way of getting your product out there? Are you selling on Amazon? You know, the Home Depot online? What are you doing that gets your product out there into the consumer's hands?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And this kind of goes back to the where am I going conversation. So I think we can expand on that too. But historically, I've been the type of person, I'm kind of a lone wolf. So e-commerce came really naturally to me. Shooting a video on social media with the call to action being go to my website or go to my Amazon store and buy it 3-day shipping. I like that because I can kind of engineer from behind the desk, kind of that Wizard of Oz mentality, right? And then you have the other school of thought, which is the trade shows and the sales reps and getting out there and being very belly to belly. And frankly, shamefully, I've lacked in the belly to belly in the trade show realm. So what I've built is a strong e-commerce that's very passive. You know, I really don't like that word, but I do, depending on how ambitious you are, I like to be candid with numbers, Rita. That makes some people uncomfortable, but I think it's so important in this journey because people are about to get into an endeavor with no idea if they're going to be millionaires or just make a few $1,000s. And so my method of marketing on social media, selling on Amazon, selling on my website, that's afforded me the ability to pay myself $100,000 a year. And that was my goal. I only wanted to invent to quit my day job. Well, I did that, and it's been a year and a half at that pace. And now my goal is to hit the next level because, we all have different ambitions, and those ambitions changed. And what I wanted back in 2020 was to just quit my job. That's not what I want now. I want more things for my future and for my family. So I think, and maybe you can help me on this, Rita, I think my next tier, or to hit that 5 million in revenue, I think I really need to get comfortable with trade shows and being belly to belly. And I've always had restraint because of the investment, right? I'm not a numbers guy, but I like performance marketing. I like to see my ROI, my return on ad spend, however you quantify it. And with trade shows, it was like a $10,000, maybe $15,000 risk.
Oh yeah.
And I felt maybe the product wasn't fleshed out enough. I don't know. So I can say with confidence that now it's the time for me. The bank now allots me lines of credit and things like that. I need to lay out a proper budget and allocate some cash to a trade show, but I kind of don't know where to start.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a, a little bit of a nudge here. When we go to ASD Market Week in March, all right, we've got 100,000 square feet. All right, I get this invoice from them that just sucks the air right out of me and makes my husband very nervous. What we do though is that we'll take 30 inventors and everybody splits that up. So now instead of the 10 or 15,000, you're looking at 3,500. All right. Okay. And that includes everything, the sales staff that goes to sell your product. The cool thing is that we are right inside the front door. All right. So we're right by the badge pickup, but we're right across from the tool section.
Cool.
All right. So that is really cool for us. Our relationship with Emerald, all right, who is the organizers of the show, our VP of Buyer Relations, she actually takes the products ahead of time and pre-sells them.
Cool.
All right. So that price of the $3,500, that includes everything. That includes her. That includes all the online and print advertising we do, all the sales staff that we take to help you and to be out there belly to belly, like you said. And so, we really encourage people to go with us because now you're not footing the bill all by yourself. We've already earned the right to be inside the front door where everybody's going to be. And, we know some of those folks that are in that tool section that only do wholesale. They only buy in bulk and sell wholesale all around the world. And I would be happy to introduce you to him.
That's amazing. I would love to be introduced. I'd love to even be a part of that. Just any way that I can be at a trade. I'm a very visual person. So until I go and experience it in any capacity, I'm not trying to go and nail my first trade show and do $100,000 deal. I'm just trying to get a feel and the lay of the land and listen and really watch. How are we interacting? Who are the people we're looking for? When are we underselling? When are we overselling? So yes, I think that sounds really cool.
The folks who went with us last year and had inventory sold it all.
Oh, that's great.
It was amazing. And, there were some with home health care. There were some with, body products for, powder. There were others that had, it's like, why don't you have inventory? We would love to buy some.
Sure.
So it was a really good show for the people who were there. And Stephanie, who is our VP of Buyer Relation, she helps a lot because she takes the products where someone has inventory and starts pre-selling to the buyers who've been to the show in the past.
That's so cool.
So it's been a very good show for us and our inventors getting everything out there. So I'll email you some information. We'll help get this out there and we'll certainly get you on all of our channels so that people can find TorkStrap.com and stop putting their lives, their eyes, their faces, their hands, everything in danger using a stinking bungee cord. No offense intended.
Thank you. Yes, it is about helping people. Of course, we're inventing to make money, but money is a byproduct of helping people. So that's what we focus on is let's have less injuries. Let's have smoother camping trips. Let's get you to the trail quicker. Let's get you to the barbecue as fast as possible so you can enjoy the family and enjoy your weekend and get home safely.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you look at, okay, the TorkStrap might be a little more expensive, but when you look at actually getting to go camping or getting to go on the hike or, getting to wherever it is you're trying to go without having to do a stop to the emergency room on the way, it's worth it.
Yeah. And just a quick little note on that. I had a teacher email me and say, this was the perfect solution for me and my 15 students because it's an after school program. We go canoeing, right? I've got 15 13-year-old kids who cannot operate a strap, and they're going to hurt themselves with the bungees. And this gave them all the independence to go out and strap down canoes, and gives me the confidence to drive those canoes hundreds of miles without anything coming loose. So you never know where your invention is going to get used or how people are going to use it. You just have to have that faith, follow that internal compass, and go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Grant, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to working with you in the future and getting the word out there. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Rita. Thanks for having me on. Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners. I really appreciate what you're doing, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.